Okay, here is an example of the beginning of a unit project that I want to show you and go through the details so that everybody can be on the same page with this. I looked through your unit projects and several of you did such an excellent job. So I had just picked one that I wanted to showcase here, and then there's pieces from some other ones at the bottom that we'll talk about the citation part. But this is the beginning. What I want you to do is to start with an annotated bibliography of the book that you're using. And of course, if you're using more than one book, you will need to do an annotated bibliography entry for each of the books that you're using. This particular person was using the book One Crazy Summer by Williams Garcia. And what you start an annotated bibliography with is an APA citation. So I'm going to go through this APA citation and point out some of the things that you need to remember when you do your citation. So you start with the author's last name and first initial. You don't use the whole name, just the initial. And then in parentheses is the publication date for the book, and then the title. The title will be italicized, and the other thing about the title that's different from everything we've always learned about titles is that it has only the first word is capitalized. So one, but crazy and summer are small letters. Now if this had a colon and another part to the title, then the first word after the colon would also be capitalized, and any proper nouns will always be capitalized in a title. After that, you have a period, and then the place of publication. And the only error in this particular citation is that the place of citation of publication is New York. So that's all you need to put, because New York is a city that everybody knows where it is. So if it's a city like Springfield, where there's Springfield, Illinois, and Springfield, Indiana, and lots of different places are called Springfield, then you would put Springfield, comma, and then the two initials for the state. But because it's New York, you don't need to do that. There's a colon after the place of publication and then the name of the publication. And you notice that this person also just put Amistad. She did not put Amistad Publishing Company or Publishing House or Publishers or any other words. It's just really the main name of the publisher that you need to put there. So following the APA citation, then there's a paragraph about the book that's written in your own words as you describe the book. So that is what you need at the beginning of your rationale. Now, throughout the rationale, in the description and in the rubric, it talks about several different things that you need to address. You need to address the developmental level of the children that you're working with, so 4th, 5th, or 6th graders. What is it that you know about them developmentally? You need to address learning theory, and you need to address how the children are going to be learning literacy. So you need to make sure all of those things come together. Now, what you need to do with that several people missed, is you need to give some direct, not necessarily direct quotes, but direct connections to these theories. So here's an example of somebody who talked about Erickson's industry versus inferiority stage. And the comment that I made to this person is, right here, there needs to be some reference given. So later in this paragraph, the person has referenced a book from Batra or an article. I'm not sure because I don't have the reference citation for that, but let's say that this information about Erickson's industry versus inferiority stage also came from Batra. So we're going to just add that here. So we have Batra, and the publication date is given down here as 2013, so I'm going to add that. And then because there's no direct quote on this particular sentence, I don't need to have a page number. I just can have the author of the article or the book and the date that it was published. Then going forward, this person has a direct quote. So then they have Batra. Now this one gets a little complicated because if it's within the same paragraph that you're citing the same author, you don't need to put the date again because you just put that in that paragraph. If you go to another paragraph, you will need to add that date again. But because this is a direct quote from that book, you need the author's name as well as the page number. So if I were reading this and I wanted to go back to that book or article and find where it is that this author said it, you are giving me a big clue by giving me the page number there. Okay, so here's another one that was very well done. Again, this was talking about the constructivism learning theory. And there is a direct quote here again. So here's the author's last names. So just a slight change here is you would put all of the author's names, and then before the last one you put the ampersand and Metcalf, then a comma and the date of publication and another comma, and then instead of just having the page number, you always put a little p and a period, and then the page number. Okay, so now if you're citing Cruikshank, Jenkins, and Metcalf more than one time in your paper, the next time you would cite them like this. So you might have a sentence, I found that constructivism works well with, I don't know, you could go on and on. But you want to cite again this paper by Cruikshank and his colleagues. So you're going to just put the first name. Let me make sure I spell it correctly. That's one of the common errors I find, is that people have authors' names spelled differently at different points in their paper. So you want to make sure and then you're going to do et al. Now, literally, this is, I'm sorry for that. I don't know how to turn that sound off when I get an email. Okay, so literally Cruikshank and, this is at in Latin is and then al is an abbreviation for a word that means everyone else. So because et is a whole word, you don't have a period after it, but al is an abbreviation, so you put a period, and then you would put the date again, 2003, unless it's within the same paragraph. And after that would come your period. Now, I didn't have a direct quote here, so I didn't need a page number. Okay, finally, at the end of your paper, you're going to have some references. So again, I am using some references that were submitted by some of your classmates, and I'm going to go through what this looks like. Now, this is again a book, so we go back to the book that we had at the top of this page, and you can see it has authors, so Cruikshank, initials, Jenkins, initials, and with the ampersand, Metcalf, initials. And then the date of the publication and a period. This is an odd little period that you have. And then the title. Now, the only thing wrong with this title is that it has too many capital letters. So the is capitalized, but act, of, and teaching are not capitalized because only the first word and the first word after. The third edition, since it's technically a part of the title, is all going to be italicized also. So I'm just going to go up here and italicize that. Okay, and then again we have New York. We don't have to do the following New York. We all know where New York is, so we're going to leave that, and then McGraw-Hill. Okay, and then here's another example from someone else's paper. And this is an example of an article from a journal, and it's very, very well done. So we have Finian, author, and then the title of the journal article is a very long title. And a lot of times journal articles have long titles. So again, everything is very well done here, except that this is the colon, and after the colon, we're going to put a capital letter. Okay? And then the journal, this is it's called straight journal, and that's italicized, and also the journal volume number is italicized. So we have straight journal, italicized, and then right after that, not even a space, is in parentheses the number of that volume. So we have the journal volume, the volume number, and then the journal number, and then the page numbers. And so we have all of that. You don't have to have PP or anything like that here. So all of that is done correctly. Now, the one other thing that I'm going to show you how to do is once you get your references done, it has what they call a hanging indent. And sometimes people do that by tabbing over, but then the whole thing tabs over. So if you were to take this and put a hard stop and then tab over, you could tab over. But the problem with that is when you do that and then you send it in for review and somebody opens it up in a slightly different format, that hard stop and tabbing over could show up in different ways. So I'm going to take that out. I'm going to highlight the whole reference list and go up. Now this is on an Apple. So I go up to Format, which you can't see at the top of this page, and I'm going to select within Format Paragraph. And now here's this section under the paragraph. It has indentation, special, hanging. Okay? And if you're not using a Mac, we can figure out how to do that, but you should be able to do that. So once I click OK, now I've got this hanging indent on all of my references. And after you watch this, look back at your own rationale and see if there is something that you can do to change. If you have questions about it, please feel free to talk to me individually about your questions. Okay, thanks for listening.